So AT&T. Now, this was like a little small article. Didn't really get passed around that much because it's nothing really big. I mean, it's just something that's going to happen when it comes to the selling off and the merger and stuff like that. But I figured I'd talk about it and talk about, well, first off, speaking of HBO Max, HBO Max prepares to launch in 15 more countries in Europe. So this is coming up right here. The WarnerMedia-owned streaming service is launching in an additional 15 nations on March 8th, this time targeting Central and Eastern Europe. This covers Bosnia. Here's a I'm not even going to try to say some of these names. Croatia, obviously the Czech Republic, Hungary, Moldova, all these, Netherlands, all right there. You can read them all. Poland, Portugal, everything like that. So 15 nations. Christina Solbach, general manager of HBO Max, EMEA, says it has been a cautious choice to get the markets launched in Europe, where the HBO Max rollout began in earnest in October with launches in the Nordics, which we talked about that too, as well as Spain. Those countries were obvious choices, as the company has solid streaming customer bases that are already familiar with HBO Nordic right there and HBO España VOD services. We had to make sure we could migrate over that customer base and get them on HBO Max first. So there you go. So more territories getting HBO Max, so that's good. But this is the article right here. AT&T sets plan to spin off WarnerMedia in $43 billion deal. What the fuck does that mean? They're making a spin-off? I'm kind of curious about it too. Oh, and thank you, Ryan, for the super chat. I saw somebody else did a super chat earlier, and I appreciate that for $3. Thank you, Ryan. I actually like the so-called floating head poster they put out, but they saw people complain, and then they're like, all right, the single posters, yeah, they probably saw a little bit of complaining, but that was mainly for India though. But thank you, Mr. Ryan Platts, for the $5 super chat. Appreciate it, sir. AT&T announced that its board has decided to spin off the telco's interest in WarnerMedia rather than structure the media's Kauglum's divestiture as a split-off. So instead of a spin-off, it's going to be a spin-off. The transition will spin off 100% of AT&T's interest in WarnerMedia to AT&T's existing shareholders in a pro rata distribution, followed by the merger of WarnerMedia with Discovery in the form of a new company, Warner Brothers Discovery. The deal is expected to, of course, close second quarter of 2022. Previously, AT&T had targeted mid-2022 for the close. Last week, obviously, we heard about that. CEO Junkee had said the board was still on the fence about whether to spin off WarnerMedia and give AT&T shareholders pro rata shares in the new Warner Brothers Discovery, or do a split-off in which they would have the option to exchange AT&T shares for stock in WarnerMedia Discovery. So giving them the option to either split off, spin off, it's all technical stuff, but apparently the shareholders, they're going to get all that for Warner Discovery instead of giving them the option to exchange AT&T shares to that. So that's what it all means. Junkee told analysts on the Q4 earnings call that were pros and cons to going either with a spin or a split. A split off would have essentially amounted to a large stock buyback by AT&T. So there you go. That's what they're doing. In the end, AT&T decided to spin off was the best path. Analysts had noted that the risk with a split-off would have been that AT&T's retail-heavy investor base would not want to own a piece of WarnerMedia Discovery. So basically, if you would have did the split-off, it's like, oh yeah, the shares would have went over to the Warner Discovery, but maybe some of the people that the shareholders wouldn't want that, especially seems like AT&T didn't want WarnerMedia anymore. So there you go. The new WBD is expected to continue investing billions in the streaming strategy, which will be a drag on earnings. And if only a small number of AT&T shareholders opt to exchange their shares in the telco for shares in WBD, I actually like that, WBD. That kind of rolls off the tongue a little bit right there. That wouldn't have the desired outcome of substantially reducing AT&T's outstanding shares. So there you go. Just a bunch of, got to keep those shareholders happy, right? Got to keep them happy. So There you go. That's what all that means right there. So that's what all that means. It's just giving them those options. That's the best opportunity, I guess you could say. Hopefully, hey, if something happens with this merger, I mean, I might, when it happens, I might, buy some shares or something like that in WB or WarnerMedia, see if it ends up going up. It would suck if it tanked, but hopefully it doesn't. But we'll see what happens. I won't put in probably that much. You never want to invest more than you're willing to lose. That's the rule about the stock market right there. And sometimes, you just got to let it slowly build. Take your profits when you do. That's what I've been kind of learning when it comes to the stock market and, the various markets out there. Just don't take advice from me. I suck.